Have you ever stood in an ancient forest and felt a deep, silent whisper from the trees, as if they held secrets from a time long before ours? Have you ever looked at an old, weathered stone with strange carvings and wondered what incredible story it was desperate to tell? And have you ever thought that the true history of this land might be hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to finally see it? If you feel that pull of curiosity, then you are exactly where you need to be. Today, we're not just telling stories. We are opening a door to the past, journeying into the heart of Washington State to uncover ancient mysteries that have baffled scientists and historians for generations. We will explore silent codes carved into stone by hands thousands of years ago, a bizarre landscape of unexplained earth mounds that look like a frozen ocean, and the persistent legend of a guardian spirit lurking in the depths of a glacial lake. This is about more than just puzzles. It's about connection. It's about understanding that our world is far more magical and mysterious than we often remember in our daily lives. We have packed this video with fascinating facts, real archaeological discoveries, and the profound wisdom of indigenous stories that offer a different way of seeing the world. To make sure you get the full picture and don't miss any of these incredible revelations, I encourage you to watch all the way to the end. If these mysteries resonate with you, if they spark that sense of wonder, please show your support by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Your engagement helps us bring more of these hidden stories to light. Now let's begin. Let us travel together in our minds to the sun-baked cliffs overlooking the mighty Columbia River. Feel the cool breeze coming off the water, a river that has been the lifeblood of this land for thousands of years. Now place your hand on the dark volcanic rock. Look closer. Etched into the stone canvas are stories. Not stories made of words, but of shapes and symbols. These are the petroglyphs carved by the hands of ancient indigenous peoples, artists and visionaries who lived long before our modern world of highways and borders. This is not random graffiti. This is a silent stone language. You see spirals that seem to pull your gaze inward, like a whirlpool of time. You see humanoid figures with massive owl-like eyes that seem to see right through you. Beings with what look like horns or antennas, and sunbursts radiating from heads that float without bodies. To our modern eyes, they look almost otherworldly, and that is the first great mystery. What were these artists trying to show us? Some researchers believe these carvings were a prehistoric sky map, aligned with the solstices and lunar events, a way to track time from the stones. Others feel they are records of powerful vision quests, moments when a person would go into the wilderness alone, seeking a connection with the spirit world, and return to carve the incredible things they had seen. Portals, strange hybrid creatures, beings that seemed to float. These carvings were placed here with deep intention at specific power spots along the river's edge, chosen for a reason we can no longer fully understand. But then, a profound sadness enters our story. For centuries, these messages stood in their perfect, sacred context. Then, in the 1960s, the Wanapum Dam was built. The water levels rose, and silently, slowly, these ancient galleries were flooded. The river that gave them life now hid them from view. While many carvings were heroically moved to museums for safekeeping, something crucial was lost. Their original placement, which way they faced, the specific sound of the water at that bend in the river, the way the sunlight hit them at dawn on the summer solstice, was washed away forever. It is like having individual words from a beautiful poem, but losing the rhythm, the rhyme, the feeling of the poem itself. We are left with a powerful code that we cannot crack. There is no Rosetta Stone for the Columbia River. And perhaps that is the way it was meant to be. Perhaps these messages were never meant for everyone. Tribal elders share that the most powerful symbols were often hidden deliberately, carved in crevices or under overhangs, where only a chosen few could find them. They were a language for the land and its spirits, not for outsiders. So what do we do with this mystery? We learn humility. We learn to be comfortable with not knowing all the answers. The power of these stones is not in solving them, but in feeling their presence. They are a timeless reminder to slow down, to listen to the land, and to respect the sacred secrets it chooses to keep. They ask us to be mindful of the ancient wonders we still have left, to protect them so that their whispers are not forever silenced. Now let's journey to a place that defies all logic, a prairie in southwestern Washington that looks unlike any other place on Earth. Imagine standing in a field where the earth itself has risen into thousands of gentle, rounded mounds. They stretch out before you like a frozen, silent ocean wave, each one separated by a small patch of flat ground in a pattern that feels too perfect, too orderly to be an accident. This is the Mima Mounds Natural Area Preserve. Some of these earth mounds are small, no bigger than a cozy chair, while others are large enough to park a car upon. They are not tall, maybe only up to your chest, but their sheer number is breathtaking. Thousands upon thousands of them, creating a rhythmic, almost cellular pattern across the land. Scientists have studied this site for over a century, scratching their heads in wonder. The most common theory suggests that pocket gophers, over countless generations, built up these piles of soil. Others point to geological forces like the freezing and thawing of the earth, or even earthquake liquefaction, where solid ground briefly turns to liquid and settles into new forms. But each theory has its flaw. Why are the mounds so perfectly spaced? Why are they all so similar in size and shape? Why do they appear in this specific place and in other parts of the world, but never quite the same? The mystery deepens when we listen to the stories of the Nisqually people, whose territory this is. Their traditions do not speak of gophers or ice. They tell of the mounds as the footprints of sky beings who once walked the earth, or perhaps as the graves of a forgotten ancient people. To walk among the mounds is to feel a profound silence. Even the wind seems hushed here, the sounds of the world absorbed by the strange geometry of the land. It is peaceful, yet unsettlingly quiet. This quiet invites us to consider a different kind of truth. Perhaps the Mima Mounds are not a problem to be solved, but a wonder to be experienced. They remind us that our world does not need to be fully explained to be fully appreciated. Their mystery is a gift, a permanent invitation to stay curious, to embrace the unknown, and to find a deep, quiet joy in the simple fact that our planet can still astonish us with its gentle, earthen goosebumps. Let's now turn our gaze to the water, to a place of breathtaking beauty and profound depth. Imagine the stunning crystal blue surface of Lake Chelan nestled deep within the rugged Cascade Mountains. This is no ordinary lake. It is over 50 miles long, and in places it plunges down more than 1,500 feet, making it one of the deepest lakes in the entire United States. Its waters are cold, clear, and fed by ancient glaciers, and its shores are lined with steep cliffs and hidden coves where sunlight barely reaches. It is a place of immense power and quiet mystery, and for generations, people have whispered that something ancient calls this lake its home. Long before settlers arrived, the indigenous Chelan people shared stories of a powerful spirit being that lived in the depths. They described it not as a monster, but as a guardian of the lake, a long, serpentine creature with eyes that glowed like embers and the ability to churn the water into dangerous whirlpools. They showed deep respect for this being, making offerings before fishing trips and speaking of it with a sense of reverence, understanding it as part of the lake's living spirit. As time passed, the stories did not fade. In the 18th, miners and steamboat crews reported seeing a massive dark shape moving swiftly through the water, keeping pace with their boats before vanishing beneath the surface. A pilot flying overhead in the 1940s saw a strange, coiling wake with no boat in sight. Even today, kayakers tell of a vast shadow gliding silently beneath them, and campers speak of low, rumbling sounds echoing across the still water at night. The descriptions remain strikingly consistent. A long, sinuous body, a head resembling a horse, and a presence that feels both ancient and intelligent. Skeptics suggest it could be a large sturgeon or a log, but the lake's extreme depth and unexplored underwater caves leave room for wonder. Some of its trenches and channels have never been fully mapped, and cold, dark currents hide secrets we may never uncover. But perhaps the true meaning of this legend is not about proving the existence of a creature. It is about the feeling the lake inspires, a sense of awe and humility in the face of nature's unknown wonders. The story of the Guardian reminds us to approach wild places with respect, to listen to the wisdom of ancient cultures, and to keep our hearts open to the magic that still exists just below the surface of our everyday world. Let us now turn our attention to the great sentinel of the Pacific Northwest, the majestic and imposing Mount Rainier. This is not just a mountain, it is a towering presence, a sleeping volcano that dominates the landscape and the imagination, rising over 14,000 feet into the sky, with its peak perpetually draped in snow and ice. Its slopes are a wilderness of ancient forests, deep glacial valleys, and hidden caves, places where the air feels thin and time seems to move differently. For generations, the indigenous tribes of this region, the Puyallup, the Nisqually, the Cowlitz, have shared stories of beings who call this mountain home. But these are not the typical tales of Sasquatch that you might have heard. These stories speak of the Mount Rainier giants, described as intelligent, tribal people of immense size and strength, who were seen as protectors of the mountain's most sacred and secluded areas. They were not mere animals, they were watchers, deeply connected to the land, and their presence was both respected and feared. Elders spoke of entire hunting parties that ventured too high into the remote valleys and never returned, or of massive footprints found in the snow near campsites, far larger than any humans. The legends carried warnings. There are places on the mountain where one should not go, not out of superstition, but out of respect for these ancient guardians and the power they represent. As settlers arrived in the 1800s, the stories persisted. Prospectors and trappers told of strange howls echoing off the cliffs, of rocks tumbling down slopes from unseen sources, and of fleeting glimpses of enormous upright figures moving silently between the trees at the edge of the firelight. Even today, hikers and park rangers occasionally report eerie experiences. The feeling of being watched by something unseen, the sound of heavy footsteps matching their own just off the trail, or the unsettling discovery of large, bare footprints in remote areas where no human should have been. The mountain itself seems to amplify these mysteries with its sheer scale and unpredictable weather, reminding us that much of its terrain remains untouched and unexplored. It is easy to dismiss these accounts as imagination or mistake, but the consistency across time and culture gives one pause. Perhaps the giants are not literal beings, but rather a powerful metaphor for the mountain's own spirit, ancient, immense, and watchful. When we stand on its slopes feeling small and humble in the face of such grandeur, we are connecting with something primal and profound. The stories inspire us to approach the wild with reverence, to recognize that we are visitors in these sacred spaces, and to embrace our role as protectors of these ancient whispering landscapes. They remind us that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, but to be felt deeply in the soul, encouraging us to listen, to respect, and to wonder. Let's journey now to the very edge of the continent, where the roaring Pacific Ocean meets the rugged Washington coastline, a place of towering trees, endless rain, and whispers of lives lived long ago. It is here that we find two of the most profound archaeological discoveries ever made in North America. Moments when the Earth itself chose to reveal its secrets, rewriting history and deepening our connection to those who walked this land thousands of years before us. Our first story takes us to the village of Ozette, where the Makah people thrived for generations, mastering the ocean and building a rich, complex culture. Then, sometime in the 1500s, disaster struck. A massive mudslide, likely triggered by a powerful storm or earthquake, swept down from the cliffs above and buried entire longhouses in an instant, preserving everything exactly as it was in that moment. For centuries, Ozette remained hidden, a silent, sacred memory. Then, in 1970, another fierce storm battered the coast, and the waves began to erode the land, slowly uncovering what lay beneath. What emerged was nothing short of a time capsule. Perfectly preserved wooden tools, intricate baskets, whaling harpoons, and even footprints left in the now hardened mud. It was as though the village had been frozen in time, offering an incredibly rare and intimate glimpse into the daily life, artistry, and spiritual practices of a sophisticated society that had lived in harmony with the sea. Not far from there, near the quiet town of Sequim, another miracle of preservation was waiting to be found. In 1907, a local man named Emmanuel Manis was simply digging a pond on his property when his backhoe struck something hard, something large. It turned out to be the bones of a mastodon, an Ice Age giant that had roamed the area thousands of years ago. But the real surprise came when researchers carefully examined the bones. Embedded in one of the ribs was a sharp point made of bone, clearly crafted by human hands. This was a spear tip, and it had been driven deep into the animal with tremendous force. Through advanced dating methods, they discovered this event occurred around 13,800 years ago, nearly 1,000 years earlier than scientists previously believed humans had arrived in this part of the world. This single discovery challenged everything experts thought they knew about how and when people first came to North America, suggesting that ancient migrations might have followed the coastline much earlier than imagined. Together, the stories of Ozette and the Manas mastodon remind us that history is not set in stone. It is constantly evolving, waiting for the next clue to be revealed. They teach us humility, showing how much we still have to learn from the land itself. These finds connect us directly to the past, urging us to listen to the Earth's memories and to protect the fragile stories still buried beneath our feet, reminding us that we too are part of this great unfolding human story. So what have we learned from these whispers of the past? We have walked beside the silent stone messages along the Columbia River, feeling the mystery of symbols whose meanings are lost to time. We have stood among the gentle, rolling Mima Mounds, touched by the quiet wonder of not having all the answers. We have felt the deep, cool presence of something ancient moving beneath the surface of Lake Chelan, reminding us to respect nature's secrets. We have looked up at the mighty slopes of Mount Rainier and understood the importance of listening to stories older than memory. And we have witnessed the Earth itself carefully preserve entire chapters of human history at Ozette and Sequim, offering us priceless glimpses into lives lived long ago. These stories are not just about the past, they are about right now. They remind us that the world is still full of magic and mystery, if only we choose to pay attention. They teach us to be humble, to be curious, and to protect the sacred places that hold these ancient memories. Most importantly, they connect us to this beautiful land, to the wisdom of those who came before us, and to the simple, powerful truth that we are part of a story much larger than ourselves. Thank you for listening, for wondering, and for keeping these stories alive in your heart. Carry this sense of wonder with you.